Welcome to Deep Thought. Just 13. Now, if anybody checked out the video I did today on my main channel where I talked about black women calling for a boycott of the Black Panther movie, one of the things I said in it was that you only needed 13 black people to see that movie and it could make a difference. And I want to get deeper into that concept. See, even though I've talked about in a video before on my main channel about everyone is ultimately a leader. And that's true. But then there's certain people born out there who's very present. They don't have to utter a word. They just do what they do in their life. They may never speak in front of people, but they'll make a difference. They'll change something. Now, when I talked about 13 blacks, that's all. And, millions are going to watch it. Because the movie, unless we're going to get a big switcheroo, which I doubt, because you're looking at the director, we're looking at Disney who wants to make money, period. Marvel is behind the Black Panther, like mostly white controlled Marvel is behind it. And plus they have a dynamic black director who quite frankly should have gotten like an Oscar for doing Creed, right? They putting a lot into it, so it's going to be a good movie. Now, when I say 13 blacks, you only need 13 people to be inspired by that movie. Hopefully you get a whole lot more, but all you need is 13. Now, that's in line with what I'm saying about how a single relationship can change a whole horizon, can create a whole new reality. Now, think about it. This ain't even about the relationship part. This is about 13 black men and women being inspired. For example, if you look at Star Wars, that's really, George Lucas, he did Star Wars, he did Raiders of the Lost Ark. But he's also, he revolutionized, special effects and stuff with his, that studio he got, right? He's done a lot of stuff. He even created tried to get a film series going, talking about the Tuskegee Airmen, right? With Red Tails, right? Now that's one man. Think about it. Everything he's done, because you got movies, you got merchandise, he's put some actors on. He's created a lot of stuff, basically off of one script. A script he actually changed several times. I actually saw a comic book series on the original Star Wars, and it was very different from what the final product. Very, very different. But ultimately, the final product came from that. Now think about it. That's just one man. One man who probably, he'll probably never get on a podium other than to accept an award. He'll probably never be a church leader, but he's affected so much. He's created billions. He's created jobs. He's actually creating careers and money and everything for people all over the world. Right? Now, we're talking about the Black Panther movie. 13 black people. Now, say you get a young man, he watches it, he's just enamored with it. All of a sudden, he decides he wants to get into filmmaking. He might create the next Star Wars. That young man might create the next Star Wars, right? He might be able to create stuff that, will empower black people, or all people, really. He might be able to create a movie studio, movie series, a whole mythology. That's some powerful stuff. Those mythology, like even if you look at Star Wars, right? Once again, a powerful thing. You actually have some people who practice a Jedi religion. Like they list their religion as Jedi. So this is a real thing. It inspires people. So you can get one person, he does that, right? You get another person, right? You get a young lady, right? Say she's a young girl. She's trying to do the right thing. She might be in an abusive environment or something. She watches the Black Panther movie. All of a sudden, she sees these strong women, because like the Black Panther's sister, the storyline is going to be she created a lot of the technology. Then you had these warrior women, the Dora Milaje. This might inspire this woman to do some stuff to truly empower women. This might be the woman who gets up there and say, hey, you know what, this might be a speaker. Or she might do something. She might create a business. She might create something to inspire because she was inspired by seeing a strong image of her on the screen. You know? And then you can get another person, it could be a male or female. They'll say, oh, wait a minute. There's some black people running stuff. I'm going to tell you what. One of the most inspirational things I saw in my life was when I went to Puerto Rico the first time. And I saw people who were not white running shit. Think about it. And that's a powerful image. So how, you start looking, you start thinking about something. In fact, the Honorable Malcolm X, he actually said one of the things that influenced him was when he was traveling through Africa and he's on airplanes being flown by black pilots. That can influence a political thing. You can get somebody influenced to say, you know what, I can make a change through ruling, And then that could be a male or that could be a female. They might be the person that grows up and say, I'm gonna start a new political party that's going to change everything. Or still start a political movement just because they were inspired because they saw black people running stuff. Then you get another one. You might say, hold up. You got this sister up here creating stuff. You got some tinkerers out there. They might say, hey, let me try to build something like that. Boom. All of a sudden, they create some new technology that could create a whole new industry. Think about it. And shoot, I haven't even got to there might be so many things because once I see the movie, I'll be able to really break things down. You never know. You might get somebody to say, you know what, I want to be a military or something. Or might be somebody inspired to be a writer. You can go so much. It's the thing is the image, the subconscious thing, the propaganda. That's where the power is. That's what the inspiration. All you need is, you just need a few people moved by it. Let me use the George Lucas example again. What if whatever inspired him to get into filmmaking never occurred? What if that moment never happened? How many people would be out of a job? I mean, they're gonna milk Star Wars. They're gonna milk Star Wars to death. Think about how many billions probably were affected by that movie in one way or the other. Even if, that movie could have been the catalyst for the first date. That's how things work. But if it didn't happen, there's probably people who wouldn't be born. No joke. There's probably jobs that wouldn't be and all of that. That's the same thing. So if you get 13 people, just 13, and I'm just throwing out the number 13, some advanced metaphysicians and stuff might know why I use that particular number. All right? But that's all you need. You just need somebody. It might just take one person inspired by that movie. That image. That's why in Hollywood, they're very controlling of the images. And I know a lot of people, let me tell you what, I know a lot of people will say, well, it's just a movie and stuff. When your subconscious looks at something, it doesn't differentiate but whether it's real or not. For somebody, it's real. Indeed, and this is a little bit of a tangent. There was a story I read. It was about a African shaman, Malidoma Same, right? I gotta check. Has he passed? Yeah. I gotta understand one weird thing about me. It's a weird thing with me. I measure time differently than other people. So if somebody passed, they haven't really passed to me. Some people might catch what I just said, but anyway, he was in his book of Water and Spirit. Now, this is an African shaman who went to, he was kidnapped by some Western missionaries, raised up in a Catholic school, but then he ended up going back to his people, and then he had to go through initiation. And these some people on some, I talked about a thing about gifted folks. These some people on some, stuff like Harry Potter looks like a kitty magician, a magician at a kitty party, right? Anyway, he wanted to do a test with his people, with the elders in his group, right? So he got a generator and a movie screen and brought home like a copy of Star Trek The Voyage Home, which was released in 1986, right? And he showed it to his elders. just to see what they think about it. They didn't see it as science fiction. They just thought it was something that another group of people in another part of the world did. Now, before someone laugh and say, "Oh, they so primitive, they couldn't recognize," so say, hold up, their whole perception was different, right? Their whole perception was different because when they looked at it, everything that happened in it, they were like they had a concept of warp drive, but they just thought, "Oh, we could have been more discreet about it," and they were like, "Well, why they need all these machines and those uniforms to do stuff?" And in fact, they looked at Spock as a mystical being that they were very familiar with. The only criticism they have was that he was too tall. They say they never seen that particular being that tall. So it was just it was like, you know, that was still real to him. And my whole point for even going off on that tangent, when somebody's watching that movie, you can tell yourself that it's not real all you want, but your subconscious still going to take it as something that's happening. Now, if you presenting that to a child, it inspires them. It might inspire the child to do movies. It might inspire the child to get into politics. It might inspire the child to do something to truly empower women. It might inspire them to, maybe even try to build a society somewhere. It's like, yeah, and you do have some billionaires out there. They actually trying to build advanced technological groups like that. You might get somebody to watch it and say, you know what? I'm gonna figure out how we can get a colony on Mars, or something like that. Might get into space travel or something. Or somebody else might say, hey, that Black Panther suit is cool. We're gonna create something like that. So many things. So, I was inspired to do this because, as I talked about on the video on my main channel, there's some women who may be women. See, we got always peep stuff. Sometimes you have a face out front, but then there's the man behind the curtain who's trying to get people not to watch this. So you gotta understand, why would they want it? You can't have that inspiration. You can't have that propaganda. You plant that seed. You know what? You plant that seed in someone's mind, and you can't stop them. It's the most unstoppable force. I'm gonna tell you what. I need to do another deep thought video on this thing. Once you stir the imagination, you plant a seed in somebody's imagination, and it really takes hold. You can't stop it. It's a more powerful force than an atom bomb. And some deep people know what I'm talking about. That's on a deep level. I can't even put it on video, but that's more powerful than an atomic bomb. It will change more. It will touch the world more. Once somebody get in their imagination that something is possible, get an idea, they will find a way to do it. So that's all you need. All you need is 13 people to be inspired by that. Of course, you'll probably get greater numbers. So if I'm saying all this happening with 13, imagine you have several thousand, especially young people, impressionable young people. I talked to my sons. They're not big comic book fans or anything, but I was like, we're probably gonna go see this. They were like, this ain't the stuff they usually watch, so I'm gonna figure out a way to get them in there. Gotta bribe them or something. Say, look, we sit through this and then we go through Dave and Buster's. So anyway, right, that's it for this one. I'll get back with y'all later. Peace and blessings.